Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today, we're journeying back in time to a city whose name echoes through history, a place of legendary opulence and so-called sin, a city that both fascinated and terrified the ancient world. We're talking about Babylon. Was it truly the wicked city described in ancient texts, or was it a cradle of civilization that profoundly shaped our modern world? Let's dig in and uncover the truth behind the legend. Our story begins over 4,000 years ago on the fertile plains of Mesopotamia in what is now modern-day Iraq. This is where Babylon rose from a small town to become the heart of a powerful empire. Its name alone conjures images of towering ziggurats, lavish hanging gardens, and extravagant kings. But before it became a superpower, it was just one of many city-states vying for control. Everything changed with the arrival of one of history's most brilliant leaders, Hammurabi. Around 1792 BC, he ascended the throne and transformed Babylon from a regional player into a dominant force. Hammurabi wasn't just a conqueror. He was a master administrator, a diplomat, and a visionary. His greatest legacy wasn't a building or a battle, but something far more revolutionary, a unified code of laws. You've probably heard of the Code of Hammurabi, famous for the principle of an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth, but it was so much more than that. This set of 282 laws was inscribed on a massive stone stele for all to see. It covered everything from property rights and trade agreements to family law and professional conduct. For the first time, justice wasn't just the whim of a king. It was codified and publicly displayed. This concept of a written, universal legal system was a monumental step forward for civilization, influencing legal traditions for millennia to come. Under Hammurabi, Babylon flourished. It became a bustling hub of trade, where merchants from across the ancient world exchanged goods, ideas, and cultures. The city was a melting pot, and its influence spread far and wide. But like all great empires, this first Babylonian dynasty eventually declined, falling to invaders and fading into a period of relative obscurity for several centuries. But Babylon was destined for a second act, one even more glorious than the first. Fast forward to the 7th century BC, and we enter the era of the Neo-Babylonian Empire. And at its helm was a king whose name is synonymous with Babylon's grandeur, Nebuchadnezzar II. When we picture ancient Babylon, it's Nebuchadnezzar's city we're imagining. He was an ambitious builder on an epic scale. He undertook a massive reconstruction project, determined to make Babylon the most magnificent city in the world. And he succeeded. The city was protected by a formidable system of double walls, so thick it was said that a 4-horse chariot could do a U-turn on top. The main entrance was the spectacular Ishtar Gate, a towering structure covered in brilliant blue glazed bricks and adorned with reliefs of lions, dragons, and bulls representing the gods. Imagine walking through that gate. It was a statement of power and wealth designed to awe and intimidate all who entered. Inside the walls, the processional way lined with glazed lion reliefs led to the heart of the city, the temple complex of Marduk, the patron god of Babylon. The centerpiece was the Esagila shrine and its accompanying ziggurat, a stepped pyramid reaching towards the heavens. This massive structure is often believed to be the inspiration for the biblical story of the Tower of Babel, a symbol of human ambition and defiance. And then there are the legendary Hanging Gardens of Babylon, one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world. The story goes that Nebuchadnezzar built this lush terraced paradise for his homesick wife, who missed the green mountains of her homeland. Water would have been ingeniously pumped up to the highest terraces to irrigate a stunning array of exotic plants and trees, creating a green mountain in the middle of the flat desert. The sheer engineering required for this would have been astonishing. The mystery? Archaeologists have yet to find conclusive evidence of their existence. Were they real, or just a beautiful legend passed down through the ages? The debate still rages on. But while Babylon was a center of architectural and engineering marvels, it was also a powerhouse of intellectual achievement. Babylonian astronomers were the true pioneers of the cosmos. They meticulously observed and recorded the movements of the stars and planets. They developed sophisticated mathematics, including a base 60 system, which is why we still have 60 seconds in a minute and 360 degrees in a circle. They could predict eclipses, created the zodiac, and laid the foundations of astronomy that were later built upon by the Greeks and are still relevant today. Every time you check your horoscope, you're engaging with a legacy that started in ancient Babylon. So, if Babylon was such a hub of innovation, law, and science, why does it have this reputation as a city of sin? This perception largely comes from its portrayal in the Bible. For the ancient Hebrews, Babylon was the enemy, the empire that destroyed Jerusalem in 587 BC and carried its people into exile. This event, the Babylonian captivity, was a traumatic and defining moment in Jewish history. In the biblical narrative, Babylon is depicted as a symbol of decadence, idolatry, and arrogance. Nebuchadnezzar is portrayed as a tyrannical king, and the city itself is the mother of harlots and of the abominations of the earth, is where the image of Babylon as a sinful, corrupt metropolis takes root. It became a powerful metaphor for a society that had turned its back on God, consumed by wealth and pride. This image was so potent that it has persisted through centuries, influencing art, literature, and culture right up to the modern day. So, which is the real Babylon? The wicked city of biblical lore, or the cradle of civilization? The truth, as it often is, lies somewhere in the middle. From the perspective of the conquered, Babylon was undoubtedly an oppressive and destructive force. But from a historical standpoint, its contributions to human progress are undeniable. The city gave us our first written legal code. It pioneered the astronomy that became the bedrock of modern science. Its mathematical innovations are embedded in the way we measure time and space. Its architectural grandeur set a standard for centuries to come. Babylon wasn't just a place of sin. It was a place of science, law, and incredible creativity. The decline of Babylon was gradual. In 539 BC, the city fell to the Persian king, Cyrus the Great, who famously entered the city without a fight. Babylon continued to be an important center under Persian and later Greek rule, but its time as the capital of a great empire was over. Over the centuries, the city slowly dwindled, its magnificent buildings crumbling and its mud bricks dissolving back into the earth from which they came. By the time of the early Islamic conquests, the once mighty Babylon was largely abandoned, its legacy buried under layers of sand and myth. Today, the ruins of Babylon stand as a quiet testament to its former glory. Archaeologists have painstakingly excavated parts of the city, including the foundations of the Ishtar Gate and parts of Nebuchadnezzar's palace, allowing us to physically touch this incredible history. But perhaps Babylon's most enduring legacy isn't in its ruins, but in the ideas it gave to the world. It's a city of dualities, a center of both brutal conquest and enlightened law, of supposed moral decay and brilliant scientific advancement. Babylon forces us to confront the complexity of history and to see that civilization is often built on contradictions. It reminds us that the line between a sinful city and a great one often depends on who is telling the story. So the next time you look at a clock, or gaze up at the night sky, or think about the concept of written laws, remember the ancient city on the plains of Mesopotamia. Babylon may be long gone, but its shadow stretches all the way to our modern world. A sinful city that, paradoxically, helped shape civilization as we know it. Thanks for joining me on this journey back in time. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell so you don't miss our next historical deep dive. What other ancient city should we explore? Let me know in the comments below. See you next time.